أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي آمين يا رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome back to Jama Mukassir. Previously we have already covered these patterns and I have mentioned the points of similarity between the various members of each group and also why I have grouped certain patterns together. We also studied these examples in our second video, and now in our last video of Jama Mukassir we are going to start off with this little chart or this little list that I have for myself. So what I have done in this little chart here is that I have picked up the representative examples from each of the pattern examples, okay, and I have grouped them together, all right, for my easy review. So, and that's how I find it easy to memorize the patterns instead of going all the way uh, from this way, instead of going this way, such as af'alun, af'ulun, and af'ilatun, fi'latun, fu'lanun, fi'lanun, fa'ala, fa'alatun. Instead of memorizing the patterns this way, I find it way easier if I try and memorize one of the examples from each group or from each pattern, all right, and that's how I find it easier to memorize, because then you have particular examples or a single word from which you can work out the pattern as well, and you can superimpose the root letters for other words on that example. All right, so that's what I find easier, and I wanted to share this method with you so that if you are also comfortable with this, you can employ this method. So all right, now what have I done here? This is, as I mentioned earlier, let's just all right, so what I have here, these are the three major groups. If the asma are more than 10 in number, then these patterns are used, all right, and if the asma are less than 10 in number, then these four patterns are used, and if it is one of the if it is one of the three patterns for four root lettered words, then we have this group here. All right, so that's how I like to study. So let's begin. Wait a second. What is this? Yeah. So we have, first of all, anhurun. Now the root letters rather are noon, ha, and ra. So it's the pattern of ulun. All right. Then we have aqlamun. The root word is qalamun, a pen, and aqlamun is its plural, jama mukassir. Then we have ghilmatun and alsinatun. I explained this word and why it is not Maraf Bilam, but it is a munsarif word, alsinatun. Alright, so don't consider this al as the Maraf Bilam al, alright, and that's why we also have tanween here. It's a pattern of ilatun. Alright, so the examples are anhurun, alsinatun, aqlamun, ghilmatun. Alright, next we have the four root lettered words and their patterns. So we have the representative word shayatinu, zalazilu, asatizatun. Then we have the group which has patterns for asma that are more than 10 in number, and first of all we have this group. Let's just zoom it up a bit. Yep. All right, so we have the first group, which is the one that carries those patterns that are formed without the addition of any extra letter in the pattern. So we have rusulun, isamun, tabaqun, uqadun. All these examples are the ones that I have already explained in the previous video. Alright, so you can always go back and watch that video if you want more examples or if you want more elaboration on these words. Next group is this one. So we have khulafa'u, successors, and anbiya'u, prophets. Then the next group is kawakibu, here, all right, stars, qaba'ilu, tribes. Now the pattern, of course, you might have noticed is this. So we have the addition of wa, fa'a. This is the pattern of fawa'ilu, and this is the pattern of fa'ailu. All right. Once again, this has been elaborated extensively in my previous video. If you want, you can always go back and watch that so that you can understand the differences between these two elaborately. All right, next example is the mabni pattern, which is fa'ala, and the representative word from that group that I like is marza. So it means patience, and that was our only pattern in this group. Then next examples are here. The next group is ahadisu and akabiru. All right. Next we have these patterns. Let's go through them. Our first example is this. So our group is na'imun, ibadun, qulubun. What do you see here? What you see is that there is a prolonged second letter sound. All right. So we have na'imun, ibadun, qulubun. All right. So this is a pattern of fa'ilun, fi'alun, fu'ulun. All right. Then next we have the patterns of fu'lanun and fi'lanun. So our examples are buldanun and ghilmanun. All right. Next we have this group, which is masajidu and mafatihu. So we have single, or rather a short sound here and a prolonged sound here. All right. So masajidu and mafatihu. So mafa'ilu and mafa'ilu. All right. Next we have the group where there is a tashdid on the second root letter. All right. So we have sujjadun, those who prostrate, and kuffarun, the disbelievers. All right. Not the it means disbelievers. So sujjadun, kuffarun. The next and final example is katabatun, which is on the pattern of fa'alatun, and it means writers. All right. So this way you can if you just simply memorize these examples, these representative words from each pattern, it will be easier for you to memorize the patterns for jama mukassar instead of rote learning all those fa'alatun and all those things, so on and so forth. All right, this is an easier way that I personally like and I have employed it. All right, so if you want, you can go this way too. Alright, so we are done with Jama Mukassar. We are already done with Jama. Alright, now in the next lesson, inshallah, we are going to understand a concept of Aqil and Ghair Aqil. Alright, and how the entire creation of Allah Ta'ala, well, grammatically, rotates around this concept. All right, we are going to study these two classifications, and then we are going to start off with a very interesting thing, inshallah, which is the ism analysis. All right, so till that time, try and memorize these patterns, number one, and number two is practice the declensions of various suffixes that we have already covered so far. All right, practice these things extensively, because now we are going to the juicier part of Arabic. All right, so keep on practicing, and I wish you all the best. So see you in the next lesson, and barakallahu li wa lakum fil Quranil Hakim. Allah Hafiz.